Hello, my name is Natalie and welcome to my channel Knitting-a-GoGo. And today I wanted to talk about the next knitting project that I'm going to be doing, which is going to be this vintage 1960s Lopi Icelandic design, as you can see here. And it's this one. And it's a pattern booklet that was designed by Reynolds Knitting Company. See the name Reynolds there. I think this booklet has so many great designs in it. I'm just going to show you a couple now. So there's like a really good sort of Icelandic cardigan, some really cool like capes, and little tops here. And it appears from this booklet that top there was previously made, as there's some handwritten notes here and some row counting being done and some notes on the chart there. So somebody's, I think in the past, made that one. So it's great to see those notes and that being part of the history of this particular booklet, which is quite nice. And they've just got these there's crochet and knitting designs in this, as you can see. And I just think they're great. I really, really like this booklet. I just think it's so much fun. And they all look snuggly and warm for winter. There's just a few more there. I'll quickly show you. And they really look nice as well, and chic is these capes here, or shawls, but over the head shawls, and then there's some little like his and her waistcoats on the back there. So Reynolds Knitting Company was an American company that I don't believe exists any longer, unfortunately. And as I said before, I think this pattern booklet is from the 1960s. I think the late 1960s, judging by the hairstyle and the fashion. I don't think it's 70s. But looking through the booklet, there is no specific date on there to say what year it actually was. So this booklet is actually a recent addition to my collection. So several months ago, I started planning my winter knitting projects. And at the minute, I was obviously really addicted to knitting vintage patterns. But I knew I wanted to knit something Icelandic. I've always loved that style and the wools used, and they always look really warm and snuggly. So I thought this would be the perfect time to finally actually sit down and knit an Icelandic style sweater. So many years ago, I did actually attend a knitting workshop where I was learning, as a knitwear designer, I was always interested in learning different techniques and styles of knitting garments, and I'd never really knitted from the top down, it was always the bottom up. So I was really interested in the Icelandic way of knitting from the top down at that time, and there was a workshop I did that taught you how to knit an Icelandic sweater from the top down, and I only knitted a miniature version in the workshop and using their Icelandic wool, but unfortunately I never ever got around to designing my own and practicing more of that top-down style. So in my current vintage knitting pattern collection, I looked through everything. I couldn't find the Icelandic style sweater from the kind of 1960s, 70s era that in my existing patterns. There were some woolen sweaters and everything, but not that style that I knew I really wanted to make. So when I started looking online, I then found this, and it was just the cover that got me. I just thought, wow, they look amazing. I've got to have this. And it was for sale in America. It wasn't in England, because like I said, it's an American knitting company. So I paid the additional postage it took to post from America to the UK, because I just knew, well, I'm going to make it. And yeah, so I managed. And also being a booklet, it wasn't, extortionate postage as it would have been if, it'd been a parcel. So it was just letter form. But yeah, I was super happy and excited to receive this. So when I did some further research into the actual wool that was used, which I couldn't tell really until I got the actual booklet. So once I received it, I could then have a look and research this and see. It says in the booklet that they use Reynolds Lopi wool, which is an Icelandic wool. I knew, being in the UK, if this was an American wool, I would probably struggle to find this in the UK anyway, like the original wool, which I did. I went on to Ravelry, that a lot of hand knitters use, just to kind of because they have a great as I've said in previous videos, they have a great database of vintage yarns and the tensions and everything. So I thought I could look on there and see, you know, what maybe I could source or substitute with an equivalent kind of wool. And I was so happy, because when I actually looked on there, it did say, I found that it was still being made and sold under the Icetex label as Alafos Lopi, which is 100% Icelandic wool. So I was super happy to find that out. I was really excited, and I thought, brilliant, okay. I haven't even really got to substitute the wool, because apparently it's still made. It says 100% Icelandic wool, and brilliant. I'm happy that there's an existing wool that basically is the same. So in looking into this further, when I originally sort of saw the pattern online and bought it, I thought this was a dress. That one obviously looks like a kind of a jacket and skirt, but I actually thought, glancing at it on a smaller screen, that it was a dress. And so when I received it, I saw, oh no, actually I don't know if you can see there, but it's actually a sweater and a skirt. There's kind of a rib detail in there. I'm not sure if you can see that. But as you can see there, it's kind of ribbed here, and then there's this skirt. Now I actually got my heart set on actually making a dress. I felt like actually how I would wear it would be as a dress, because I'd wear it with boots in the winter, and I don't think I'd ever wear it as a skirt jumper ensemble. Now don't get me wrong, having two separates has its advantages as well. You could just wear the skirt by itself with a different top, or you could wear the jumper by itself with trousers. But I knew, for me personally, I really wanted to make it into a dress. So thankfully, because of my hand knitwear design experience, it's going to be quite easy, I believe, to actually convert that into an actual dress. It's not going to be too challenging. I mean, you're just keeping the same kind of sizing on the top and around the bottom, the hips, and you're just reducing some rows and maybe just coming in slightly less around the waist to still sort of have the width you want on the jumper. So I'll just kind of work the stitches so they kind of merge into the jumper, I think. I might talk through that a bit more later on, or in the next video. So when I looked at this the colours, that was the next thing. So now I had the wool that I knew I could buy, that was going to hopefully knit to the exact tension, and I could start looking through the shades. Now I really liked the colour combination here, and on my initial looking at it, I would have said that the colours were obviously white and like an orange and maybe a dark brown. But when I actually went into the actual pattern, it told me that it was natural white, natural black and red. Now personally, I didn't actually want those colours. I wasn't sure about the black and red. It would be quite vibrant, but I kind of got my heart set on the orange once I thought it was orange. I thought that would be really nice. And even looking at it now, it still looks kind of like an orangey colour, but I don't know, maybe if the cover over the years has got faded perhaps, or it was just the way the photo was taken. So I went online and looked at the Alafos Lopi shades, and it was really difficult to kind of source a shade card, because they actually do shade cards, but everywhere I looked seemed to be sold out, which was a bit frustrating, because ideally I would like to have got a shade card, then I could have really looked at the different colours, and especially when you're sort of doing this kind of fair isle patterning or colour work, it's really nice to sort of use the strands from a shade card, kind of put them together and see how they're going to look. So I just had to go by my monitor settings on the screen and think, okay, what I'm seeing, I'm hoping is going to be okay and right. So I decided that I definitely wanted kind of an orange shade, and I found they did a really nice kind of burnt orange shade that looked really lovely, and I thought that's definitely what I want to go with the white. What's good about this pattern, there's just 3 shades. It's not really lots of complicated colour work and lots of colours, and that's kind of what I wanted. I almost like the Icelandic, almost like there's a simplicity about them, I feel, and I really like that. So basically I'm knitting the smallest size. And it does say that the jumper bust size is about 31.5 to 32.5 inches. But then when it says you block it, it's like to a 36-inch bust. So I'm going to knit the smaller size. And And with the skirt, it was like knitted like to a 26-inch waist for the small size. So I think the hips and everything, for me personally and my size, that would work. Even though I'm not going to kind of knit it right to that waist, it will be slightly looser to go with the jumper. The wool seems to be the same amount, 100 grams, as the original. So it said I would need, for the small size, 7 skeins of the main colour and 2 skeins of the contrast colours, so 4 of those in total, which would make a total of 11 skeins. Now, just to cover myself, because I wanted to knit a tension square and everything, I decided to actually buy 8 skeins of the white shade. So the shades I decided on in the end was shade 0051, which was a white for the Alla Fossi here, which obviously is for the main body of the dress. And then obviously I'd already mentioned I wanted to use the burnt orange, which I really like. It's almost got like a, like almost a black kind of fleck or something going through, or a dark brown going through this wool as well. And it's really nice. I really like that shade. And I think that's going to work really well with the white. And again, I just think it's a good colour on me personally. So I'm really happy with that. Now, again, I wasn't sure about using black. I just thought it was going to be a real, it'd probably be okay, but it would be real dark contrast to these. And I just wasn't sure about that. So in the end, I settled on a shade called Oxblood Red, which is shade 1242, the number, which is this beautiful one here. And I just think with the orange, the burnt orange and the white, I just think they're going to be really nice colour combination. So the next slight issue I had was actually trying to purchase this wool. Because in the UK, for whatever reason, they must get it in really small quantities, or it's really popular, I don't know. But when I started looking on the British online websites, because unfortunately there's nowhere local I can shop for this, so I had to go online. And I just couldn't get the shades I wanted. They're all sold out, including even like the white. Everything just seemed to be sold out. And one website said, oh, hoping to get more stock in towards, mid to end of October. Now, because I'm going away towards the end of this year, it's now the end of September. I didn't want to be in a situation where I'm still mid-making it. I definitely want this to be able to wear when I go away. So I thought I can't risk waiting and hoping that's going to come in, and then I can, then I can buy it. And then I'm putting myself under real pressure to get it knitted, quick, which I might not be able to do depending on my, work commitments and everything. So I then decided to look further afield and mainly look at it in Iceland, because obviously it's Icelandic wool. It's quite a thick wool. So they say on here it's warm and cosy and ideal for outdoor wear. And yeah, it's quite a coarse wool. I'd almost say it's kind of like, it's quite like an Aran weight. It's quite bulky. So it does feel like it's going to be a nice warm, cosy dress. So in the end, I managed to find the shades I wanted with the quantities I was after on an actual website called the Icelandic Store, which is obviously in Iceland. And I've put a link in the description below so you can have a look at the wools yourself if you're interested in potentially knitting an Icelandic project, but you can have a look. And my only concern with ordering this wool from there was obviously postage costs, which was going to cost me around, I've put notes here, so it was going to cost me around 18, I think it was £17 something in the end, but yeah, round it up, it was around £18 in postage it was going to cost me to send it to the UK. And I thought, okay, so that's obviously a lot more than what I would have to pay if I bought it in the UK. But there was one thing I then looked at. So in the UK, the shops I'd looked at, they had like the prices still of what the wool would cost, even though they were kind of out of stock of things. And the cost was around £7.59 a ball of this 100 gram wool. Which, it's what it is. It's obviously imported from Iceland. But when I looked on the Icelandic Store, it was actually coming in at £5.56 a ball. Now when I looked at the cost of buying 12 balls of this at £5.56, I still actually made, even with the postage, I still actually made a saving on there. It actually cost me less to buy it directly from Iceland with the postage cost because of the price per ball than if I'd paid the £7.59 in England. And then I probably would have also had to pay another postage cost on there. So I actually made a saving, which I was quite surprised at, buying it direct from Iceland. But obviously, because it's no import charges or what have you, and it's direct from them, they obviously can do it at a cheaper price per ball. So that was quite positive. So I actually, in the end, didn't mind paying the postage. And the other thing I was surprised about, I ordered it on a Tuesday a couple of weeks ago. And I was really shocked because it actually arrived and it was delivered to me on the Thursday of the same week. And I was not expecting that. I thought I would have to allow, again, maybe a couple of weeks, or at least a week. They did say the turnaround times were quite quick. So I was hoping it would be, but I really genuinely didn't expect it within 2 days. So that was really good. That made me really happy because it meant I could just then start, knitting this project. And what I'm also going to really love about knitting this into a dress is that all the instructions are for knitting it in the round, so circular knitting, which is my absolute favourite. When I make a lot of projects for myself, if I was designing something for myself, I love knitting things in the round. It just means less seaming at the end. A lot of my vintage patterns I knit are in pieces rather than in the round, and then I'll have to sew them up, but this is amazing. I love the fact this is all going to be in the round. So I'm really looking forward to a circular knitting project that I can do. So from reading this pattern here, it says I'm going to need a number 8 and number 10 29-inch circular needle, one of each, which is, I worked out, I tend to do things in centimetres being in the UK, and I worked it out that it was around 73.66 centimetres for the needle length. So I'm going to probably most likely use an 80 centimetre needle for my circular needle and see how I get on with that. Now the other thing I had to bear in mind was the fact that the needle sizes weren't the old British needle sizes. This is an American knitting pattern, so they're actually American needle sizes. So again, I was able to establish that the number 8 American needle size is a 5mm needle for nowadays needles we use in the UK, and the number 10 is a 6mm needle. So again, because it's quite a thick wool, I'm hoping it's going to knit up quite quickly, being bigger needles and also on the thicker wool. And what it also means is I finally get to use my Joy of Knitting Knit Pro circular needle set. I did actually release a previous video that spoke about this if you want to have a look. And they come in with those needle sizes. So here's the 5mm needle here. And I explained in that video how they're kind of cubic and not round. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they knit and how I can knit with a cubic needle. So I've always knitted with round with circular needles, never this kind of cubic kind of shape. So in my other video where I talk about these needles, I give a bit more information about the benefits that they say from using a cubic needle. So you might want to take a look at that where I talk about it more in depth. So for the Fair sort of colour work on this dress, they obviously have charts in these booklets. As you can see here, they're in black and white, and they're also kind of like hand done. They're not copy and pasted, so they're not uniform. The crosses and the dots they've done, they're all kind of individually, it looks drawn, crossed, and so there's a real sort of uniqueness to it, which is quite sweet. I feel like nowadays we're really fortunate and lucky with, it's quite normal just to have colour charts on modern knitting patterns. And I don't believe, perhaps then they had the software, like computers for instance, to maybe to do colour charts and what have you. So yeah, they're quite straightforward to read because it is 3 colours. There's not a lot to it for the actual pattern, and also the pattern is a pretty basic pattern. It's not a complicated sort of Fair Isle pattern. So for the majority of it, most rows are knitted just with 2 of the colours at a time. There is the odd row where it incorporates the 3 colours, but overall it's just sort of 2 colours. So again, I don't think it's going to be too complicated a pattern to sort of knit. I have experienced knitting Fair Isle and everything, so I think it'll be pretty straightforward, and also it's on bigger needles, bigger yarn, so again it should be pretty straightforward when knitting that as well. When I'm going to find time to knit this, I do a lot of knitting when I'm out and about as well, if I'm travelling on the go or just taking a lunch break at work, and if it's a nice day I can sit outside and do some knitting. So my main concern was with the white wool. If I'm travelling out and about with this, and I'm worried about getting it on the floor, getting grubby. So I recently found these lovely knitting project bags, and I really love the black and white colour of them. And what's great about it, it also has a compartment here that you could put longer needles in if you're knitting on long needles. And then it's just got so much space in there, which is going to be great for storing these size kind of like wool in there whilst I'm on the go, because I can't really make them smaller really, so that's going to be really good. And also what I like about it, it's got a little hole here, if you can see, where I can thread the wool through. So just show you here, so when I'm knitting I can literally just feed it through there and have my wool this side and continue to knit. So my wool I can then zip this compartment up, or bag up, and then I can have that through there. I mean, obviously when you've done your knitting you can just pop it back in and just have that little loop over the edge. I can actually kind of knit and I can knit what I make, or what I'm making, and just keep my wool protected, so it's not going to fall about and get grubby. Sometimes just in an open bag it might just pop out while I'm knitting, whereas that's just going to stay properly protected, so I really like that. And I like them so much, I'm stocking a couple as well in my Etsy shop, so I'll try and get some videos of me actually using it as well in progress, so you can see what I mean and how I'm finding it. And the bag's big enough to also put my laptop and things in it, which is really good. So it's going to be great from travelling to or from my studio and that, when I need my computer and notebooks, and it's almost like a nice travel bag size as well. So you don't need another bag, you can just kind of put some things in there, potentially some toiletries, and maybe, just thinking out loud. But yeah, it's really good size. So I'm really looking forward to using that when I'm out and about with this project. So I've decided to do this video in two parts: the initial introduction of what I'm going to be making, and then in the second video I'm going to be showing you my process of knitting the actual dress, and converting it and knitting it into a dress instead of a skirt and sweater. So I hope you've enjoyed this introductory video into my next project, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I think by clicking on the button below, where you'll be one of the first to know when the next video or instalment of this project is uploaded. And check out the links below as well that I've put in the description if you're interested in Icelandic sweaters, and my Etsy shop, and my social media links are also down there. Thank you for watching.